Right, day 5. It is your last day of your 5-day fasting challenge. I hope it's gone well. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope everything's been going exactly the way it's supposed to be going. I hope you've been keeping yourself hydrated. You should now find that your sleep is getting a lot better, your skin quality is getting much better, your mood's getting much better, your digestive system's getting much better. Everything should start to improve now at this point. And think about this. I want you to really try and just let this sink in a wee bit. Why is everything feeling good? Why do you feel energetic? Why do you feel like you're really thinking clearly? It's because you don't constantly have food flooding your system, right? That's the impact of constantly eating all the time. We are not designed to do this, guys, right? We're not designed to have food in our body 24/7. Remember, like I said at the start, if we eat a meal, even our last meal, if we stop eating at 8 o'clock, it can take from 46, maybe even 7 hours sometimes for that insulin to come down, for all that food to have gone, be processed, digested, absorbed into wherever it's going to go, and down in the baseline. So it's about maybe 6-7 hours, depending how quick you digest food. For most people, there is never a time in their life where that is a completely fasted state, because they eat late, they wake up, they have breakfast, the probably insulin hasn't even gone baseline at that time, and then they're constantly eating all day. Even within a 2-hour period, there's always food there. So that insulin is always elevated, that IGF-1 is always elevated, inflammatory markers are always elevated. All that's going on all the time, right? And the best cure for anything is just to stop eating for a while, maybe like a 72-hour fast, 24-hour fast, and just let everything just do its job. Let your body do what nature designed it to do. Then there would be less need for medications and all this kind of stuff, which I am adamant is literally because we flood ourselves with too much food. All right, I mean, think about it like a food processor, and you're trying to get the nice stuff to come out the bottom, and you just keep ramming food in and ramming food in and ramming food in. After a while, those blades aren't going round, they're not processed. If they are going round, they're not processing everything that's in there. Does that make sense? You're just ramming food on top of food. And then if you're overweight, that's a product of that thing just getting jammed and bunged up with food. You never get the chance to use it or process it. In nature, if we lived off the land like we did like 100, 200 years ago, 300 years ago, you would never have seen anybody with excess fat, because we wouldn't have had the chance to store it. We would have had to work hard to find the calories, replenish those calories, and then work hard to find more calories. Does that make sense? There we go. Right, so today we want to talk a wee bit about protein. Now, protein is one of the most important, not one of, it is the most important nutrient. Remember, your nutrients are proteins, fats, and carbohydrates. Now, incidentally, there is essential amino acids, there's essential fatty acids, there is not an essential carbohydrate. What does that mean? Essential means that your body must consume it. If you don't consume it, you're not going to get it. So for example, protein is made up of 20 amino acids, right? 9 of those are what we call essential. You must eat them. The non-essential, the other 11 non-essential, your body will make up by grabbing bits and pieces here and there. It'll make up the amino acids itself by different things. But the 9 essential you must eat. Essential fatty acids as well too. So fats are made up of your omega-3, your omega-6, your omega-9, all that kind of stuff, all the essential stuff that works. Your body can't live without them. You would die if you didn't get those essential nutrients. There's no essential carbohydrate. Remember, if you think about what we talked when we talked about the liver releasing stored fat via glucagon, that's fat that was stored being turned into glucose via gluconeogenesis. You don't need carbohydrates at all in life. You can function very, very well. In fact, you'll function exceptionally well if you never ate a carbohydrate, which is what a ketogenic diet is. Now, it's very fucking difficult to do from a society point of view, because food's everywhere, especially carbohydrates. We celebrwhen we go to parties, we use food. Religious occasions, we use food. So food's everywhere, especially the nice sweet stuff like carbohydrates. But it's not essential. You do not need it. And like I said again, for most people, 80 to 90% of their plate is made up of carbohydrates, the stuff that we don't even need. There's just too much fuel bunging up the food processor, and we're lacking in on the stuff that we should be eating. So the way that I look at life at the minute, we are overfed and we're undernourished. Because back in the old days, when there was very little food around, at least it was good, wholesome, natural food. There was no processed shit about. So now we are actually, as a species, we're overfed, but we're undernourished. Does that make sense? Right, so protein, essential amino acids. Now, there's a thing that we need to understand about protein. It's called the biological availability, right? So the biological availability, and also the digestibility, and also the absorbability of protein. So we said that the 9 essentials you must eat, right? So there's 20 amino acids. Our body, our muscles, every cell in our body is made up of amino acids, right? Specifically your muscle. Your muscle is just pure protein. There's 9 essential amino acids. Those essential amino acids are found in animal products. Chicken, eggs, fish, meat. This is why, and it's not just my opinion, it's fact, that vegetarians and vegans and people like that are not very healthy. They will turn around and tell you they feel great for the first year or two, but then malnutrition signs kick in because they're not getting essential amino acids. Now, you can find a way to get them, which is hard. It's food combining, because sometimes kidney beans have a certain amount of amino acids. White rice has a certain amount of amino acids. When you combine them together, you can get about 3 or 4 of the essential amino acids, but it's very hard to do. And the quantity, that's also important. So let's say, for example, you can get 10 grams of essential amino acids through different combining of fruits and vegetables and beans and legumes, right, and lentils. You can maybe get about 10 grams of essential amino acids. 10 grams not enough, right? So what we think about is the biological availability, the digestibility, absorbability of protein, and the amino acid ratio. Again, I know this is very complex. You would never have thought that. Why we're not taught this stuff? So you must eat these foods in order for the body to function properly. If you're not eating them, the muscle can't repair properly. If the muscle doesn't repair properly, remember the golden rule. If you take away anything from this, muscle tissue equals metabolic rate. Metabolic rate equals how many calories your body's going to burn and not burn. A metabolic rate means the rate at which your body requires and uses energy. If my metabolic rate goes down, my energy requirements go down. My energy expenditure goes down. Does that make sense? So I can't burn fat if I've got a very slow metabolism. Now, you'll hear people say that the metabolic rate slows down with age. It actually doesn't. Right? So research shows now it doesn't slow down until you're in your 70s. From a biological point of view, from a metabolism, a metabolic point of view, the reason why our metabolisms look or show signs of decline as we age is because we lose muscle tissue. But pound for pound of muscle tissue is still metabolically active until we hit about 70. Does that make sense? I'm trying not to complicate this too much, but pound for pound the muscle tissue does not lose its metabolic output until we hit about 70, right? Other than that, the reason why the metabolism declines is because there's less muscle tissue, there's less of you. That's also hormone decline, men and women. Sarcopenia, muscle wastage as we age due to muscle decline or hormone decline, which is again why we need to focus on resistance training. To build and preserve muscle tissue, we need to eat protein to repair the muscle tissue that we break down during the workout, or repair the muscle tissue that's been lost due to sarcopenia. So we get that fast metabolic rate. Remember, fasting, by all intents and purposes, by nature, is less food coming in. If we were to fast all the time, even if you were to do it really well, you still would not have enough protein in order for your body to repair itself and to keep that metabolic rate and keep that muscle tissue function at full throttle. Right, why is that? Because there's a certain amount of protein that we need. We need to consume it per day. Right, now on paper, right, the perfect ratio is 1:1. 1 gram of protein for every pound of body weight. That's lean body weight. Say you stripped off all your fat and was just your muscle tissue, how much metabolically active tissue is there? That's your muscle cells. That's how much protein we need. So let's say you really stripped out all the fat and you weighed 10 stone. 10 stone's 140 pounds. You should be eating 140 grams of protein per day just for your body to function properly. Guys, that's a lot of fucking protein, right? I eat about 200 to 250 a day, which means that 90% of my meal is protein based, right? Everything else is fruit and vegetables. I don't eat very many carbohydrates. I don't need them, they're not essential for my body. If I overconsume calories from protein and fat, I'll store it and I'll convert that into glucose as I need it. Does that make sense? So think about how much protein. So for what I would say for a rule of thumb, so again, fasting challenge is what it is. This is the last day. Moving forward now until the next fasting challenge next month, you should be aiming to eat 100 grams of protein per day for the women and 150 grams per day for the men. That's the bottom line of it, right? Slightly more is good, and no, there's not going to be any problems with your liver or anything like that. All that is just absolute garbage, it's rubbish, right? It's not real, so don't worry about it. So you think about, so if I have to eat 100 grams a day, what would that look like? So if I divide that into how many meals I'm going to have, breakfast, lunch, dinner, snack, which you find in the NutriCheck app that we always use, has got 4 segments: breakfast, lunch, dinner, snack. If I eat to have 20 grams in each, or 25 grams in each one of those, I'll hit my 100 gram portion. 25 grams, what does that look like? 1 scoop of your protein. This is why we have 2 scoops of protein before we break fast. So you've got 50 grams, 45 to 50 grams straight away. So then hopefully we can get another 30, 40, 50 in the meals that we eat. That's why it's 2 scoops, as well as the satiety making you feel full up, is to make sure that we hit the metabolic requirements of protein so your metabolism stays as fast as possible. Remember all those wee nuclear reactors firing up inside the mitochondria nuclear reactors inside the cell. They're fired up and they're burning, so we're burning that fat off because we've got all that enzymatic process of the apple cider vinegar and the lemon, breaking down those fatty acids, releasing them in the system. The mitochondria is fired up, everything's working together, muscle tissue is very strong, we're really active, we're lifting weights, and we are burning as much fat as we can and sparing the muscle tissue. You see how it all can. And when it comes to whey protein, remember whey protein is basically a supplement. So we're supplementing the diet. There's a difference between supplementing and substituting. We don't want to substitute. We don't say, I'm just not going to eat this meal, I'm going to have a protein shake instead. That's not what we want to do. The proper food is always better, all right? Because there has to be digested. There's a thermogenic effect of food, which means that you have to actually burn a lot of calories just digesting the protein, because it's very thick, very dense. So we burn calories digesting protein. So for example, say we eat 100 calories of protein, right? Say chicken breast or steak, we eat 100 calories of just protein or steak. We will only absorb 70 grams of protein from that 100 grams, because it takes 30 grams just to digest the stuff and get it working. So eating more protein is actually burning more calories because of that thermogenic threshold. But when we take a protein shake, we don't have that because it's not digested. Think of it as baby food, pre-digested straight into the system, which isn't a bad thing either. From nutrient supply, from supplying the body with amino acids, is pretty good. Now, we talk about the bioavailability of food. What does that mean? There's the biological value of food. So, a whole egg is classified as 100 because it has all 20 and all 9 essential amino acids. It is a full protein. So that's biologically availability is 100. A steak is about 82, chicken is about 79, salmon or fish is about 72. So they all have a certain biological value depending on how many of the essential amino acids that they have, right? So a whole egg is basically as close to the human body as we can. It's perfect because it's actually a full animal in there, so it's got all the amino acids. So eggs probably the best food, not probably, eggs are the best food you can eat from a protein amino acid supply point of view. Now, the kicker here is when we have whey protein, right? The thing about whey protein is there's certain amino acids that are actually more essential than the other essential for certain things. For example, muscle growth. So we want the muscle to grow. Now when we say muscle grow, we're not talking about big bodybuilder shit. We just mean the muscle to repair itself. Remember, your body's either in one state or the other. It's either anabolic, muscle growth, like for example anabolic steroids, or catabolic, muscle breakdown. You're never just in one or just in the other. You fluctuate between them on a daily basis during the day due to hormone fluctuations. So you're either anabolic or catabolic. We want to be more anabolic than catabolic, and we want to make sure that we have the amino acids, so when we go anabolic we can repair all the muscle tissue, because your body's either growing or breaking down. It's never the same. Your body doesn't stay the same. It's either breaking down muscle tissue or it's rebuilding muscle tissue. It's doing one or the other. It's never just sitting there. Right? So when we do go in that anabolic state, or we want to make sure we have more anabolic, that means we have to supply the body with amino acids. Now, what happens when we go a long time with no amino acids or no food? Because remember, there's no way for your body to store this stuff. You eat it, you digest it, you use it. You eat it, you digest it, you use it. Remember how we talked about insulin resistance? We store everything else. We can store this fat and we can get it later. We can't do that with amino acids. We can't do that with protein, so we must consume it. If you go a long time without amino acids, without protein, the body will just keep slipping under that breakdown, that catabolic stage, and that's where you're breaking down more muscle tissue than we actually want. This is why chronic dieting is not good. This is why things like Ozempic, right? We restrict food, we can't eat. Think of it as Ozempic as like a permanent malnutrition. Ozempic is not a weight loss drug, it's an appetite suppressant. So it's basically like doing a OMAD for the whole duration of the thing. If you did OMAD every day, you would lose exactly the same amount of weight as someone taking Ozempic, because all it is an appetite suppressant. As when we're fasting, we're purposely not eating. Where Ozempic, food will make you sick, so you can't eat because the medication is making you not eat. But it's the same thing. Exact same thing. So that's the downside of losing the muscle tissue. Metabolism slows down, become frail, all the bad things happen, blah blah blah. So whey protein, like I said, because there's so many of the muscle building amino acids like leucine, the bioavailability of whey protein is actually 112. So it's actually better for muscle growth, for anabolism, than a whole egg, which is why bodybuilders like to take whey protein. It's very, very good for that muscle span. So if you're doing the fast, this is why we're using the whey protein, not the beef protein. Beef protein does not have the same bioavailability as the whey protein. Beef, and the supplement is about an 80. Whey protein's 112. That's how good this stuff is. That's why at night I sprinkle some into my yogurt. If I've porridge, I sprinkle some into my porridge, and I'll have at least 1 or 2 whey protein shakes per day, specifically one straight after training. Because I want that anabolism, I want to be anabolic, I want to be in muscle growth state all the time. Does that make sense? Right? Again, when we get to things like protein, specific nutrients, it is a bit of a minefield. It can be a lot to learn. Most of this is going to go over your head, but remember, these videos are all recorded. Watch them again, watch them over and over, send them to your friends, send them to the people that you know are struggling with the same thing as you are, and say, look, listen to this, does this make sense? Because all I want to do is help you make sense of everything, because from my perspective, the more information you have, the more application we can do. You can't do something if you don't know why you're doing it or what's working. For example, like I said in the past video, we have a long fast, we have a 22-hour fast to do, and it gets tough, right? The kids are acting a whack, they're eating sweets and crisps in front of you, you can smell stuff in the bakery, you think, fuck, I just want food. But if you understand what's actually happening whenever you do it, it gives you the drive and motivation to keep going, right? Because you know this is all good stuff. This isn't just me depriving myself and feeling sorry for myself, poor me, I'm going to die of hunger. No, I'm actually improving my health, I'm making myself fitter, I'm making myself better, I'm going to look good, I'm going to feel good. That's the objective.